Texas, shaping up as a battleground state for 2020.
This is a time for every Texan that cares about the future of our country to turn out to vote and participate.
A Texas congressman tells us about the battles ahead and his ongoing beef with President Trump. Loosening the laws on hemp and marijuana, different bills are making progress in the Texas legislature. We look closer at the outlook and obstacles ahead.
All voted.
A close vote shut down an amendment to allow Texas breweries to sell beer to go. But a recount reversed the result. We get the details from the man behind the deal. Hello and thank you for joining us for State of Texas. I'm Phil Prazen in for Josh Hinkle. We have less than 1 month to go in the legislative session, and bills that haven't made it out of committee are likely not going to make it. The last-ditch strategy for a lot of lawmakers is to attach those bills as amendments to a different bill that's sure to pass. That was the strategy for Representative Eddie Rodriguez used with the Beer to Go bill. The measure lets Texas brewers sell six-packs to people who visit their breweries and want to take beer home. Rodriguez made it an amendment to the bill regulating the Texas Alcoholic Beverage Commission. That's a bill lawmakers have to pass in order for that agency to continue. Opponents voted to block the amendment, winning by 1 vote. But a recount found 7 members marked as voting yes were not in the room. Since those votes did not count, the amendment was approved, and the legislation now moves to the Senate. Joining us now for some insight is Representative Eddie Rodriguez. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
So talk to me a little bit about how the Beer to Go bill stalled there for a second. It was referred to a committee, and then what happened?
Well, it was referred to a committee, and I just never got a hearing. I asked for a hearing, never got one. I don't know if the support was there in the committee itself. There's no way to know that because we never got a hearing. So I had an opportunity with the Sunset Bill, the TABC Sunset Bill, and we were able to get it on.
So, chairman of that committee, Democrat Tracy King, he didn't respond to a request for comment when I was covering the story. What did he tell you that there was no hearing? I think he was trying to look out for the membership and see, kind of knowing where some of the members were, that they didn't necessarily want to hear it. That's kind of conversations that me and the chairman have, and I'm just going to leave it at that. Okay.
Yeah.
But what's important about this? Is this one of those issues where, these ideas that never get to the floor, and I'm sure that you're of the opinion that once it got to the floor, we know that it has the support to pass.
I had a feeling that if it was on the floor of the House, we'd have a good shot as a bill, right? So. When you're doing amendments, you kind of have to feel your way through it, and you kind of feel the room, so to speak. And there was a couple of amendments that got on ahead of mine. I was probably going to postpone mine towards the end and just try to garner some more votes. But I could just feel that there was momentum in making some changes to that bill, to the Sunset Bill. So I just kind of went for it when I felt like the room was ready for it. So that's kind of how that went down.
An opportunity, you said, hey, I think there's more of us than them. Let's do it right now.
Let's do it right now.
And what's the process go on from here?
Well, right now, so the Sunset Bill, it's third reading today. I'll have to go back and do that. We'll go to the Senate, and then the Senate will either change it, alter it one way or the other, and then it'll probably go to a conference committee, and hopefully, so there's still a lot more to go. I mean, I'm not celebrating in the sense that I know it's going to become law, because there's still some more steps. The Senate has to look at it, and then if it's very different, then we assume that there's going to be a conference committee, which is just a few members of the House and a few members from the Senate, and then we have to kind of hash it out there to make sure we can keep it in there.
Now, is there a fear that in the conference committee, when everybody gets kind of alone, they go, actually, let's not do this Beer to Go?
That's always a possibility. Yeah, it's always a possibility. I trust that Representative Patty, who was the author of the House bill. I mean, what happens basically, from my perspective, from my point of view, actually, is once the bill is passed out of the House, it really belongs to the House. So I'm hopeful that Chairman Patty will keep true to what the will of the House, and we'll fight to keep it in there.
And Senator Dawn Buckingham is on the Sunset Committee, and she's
the Senate sponsor.
The Senate sponsor. Does that give you?
She has a Senate bill as well.
Does that give you a little more confidence going forward on this?
Yeah, I mean, I spoke with her yesterday. She's going to work really hard talking to the author of the Senate bill, which is the companion to the Sunset Bill, to try to get try to keep it on there. So I think with it passing the House, it gives put a little bit momentum for her to be able to try to push that with some of the senators. I think I'm going to talk to her some more and see what I can do to help her out too. But I know she's going to be working really hard in the Senate.
If I am a consumer and I go to a brewery and I really like the beer and I want to leave with a 6-pack, this is the closest I've ever been to that being
To be able to do that, correct.
So how important was that vote for y'all?
I think it's really important. I mean, in Austin, we have a lot of breweries in Austin, and you can go to a brew pub, and a lot of people don't know the difference between a brew pub and a brewery. And you go and you might be used to be able to take some beer to go in a growler or whatever else, and then you go to a brewery and you're not able to do that. So I think it's important for business. It's important for the small businesses that are the breweries in Austin and around the state of Texas, and it allows them to market their product better. It allows them to grow and be more successful. So I think it's really important. I mean, craft brew generates about $4.5 billion to the Texas economy, and I think this will just allow that to grow.
Representative, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Lawmakers take a different look at the impact of school funding.
Thousands of jobs in Texas that require these computer science type skills, and we don't have the students to fill those jobs.
A new Senate plan has key differences from what the House put out. We'll look closer at the challenge to work out the details. A vote on hemp could bring Texas a new cash crop, why it's a big deal for farmers and for everyday Texans. Lawmakers promised permanent fixes to fund Texas public schools, but first they have to reconcile differences between the House and the Senate. Our own Wes Rappaport has been following this debate. And Wes, you talked to teachers. What are they saying about it?
Well, Phil, this is the point in the session where these hearings start to carry later into the night, and this week was no exception. Teachers across Texas giving lawmakers an earful about this latest draft of the statewide education plan.
Right now, we're not leading.
This particular bill represents transformative changes in our education system.
One of the overarching beefs between the House and Senate plans is the Senate proposal gives more money to schools that perform well, while the House version abandons that idea.
We need to see what's the long-term planning, how we're going to continue funding for the pay raises or the strategic compensations or pre-K, so you have it long-term.
Milton Perez has taught in Round Rock ISD for 13 years. He doesn't want to see funding tied to student performance on standardized tests, but says teachers should get incentives based on their evaluations.
If we keep with the status quo, I don't see that achievement gap closing and helping those kids who live in the high poverty areas. So I think nothing's perfect, but having some sort of compensation plan to attract those teachers back to those campuses will benefit and close the gap.
In Dallas ISD, Superintendent Dr. Michael Hinojosa says bonuses based on school success works.
It's not just the STAR test. This is how many kids graduate and are they ready with certificates to go into the world of work. These are things that are measurable, that can actually have a benefit to their lives.
Some district leaders still worry about how to pay for it all.
We're taking lots of different pieces and moving them around so that hopefully everybody's a winner in the process. I love that. I want to make sure that we do have winners and not losers.
I want to highlight another difference here. The House plan includes money to give all district employees a raise of around $1,800. The Senate plan would give $5,000 raises, but only for teachers and librarians, Phil.
Wes, I was at a wedding 2 weeks ago, and I was talking to two teachers, and they both name-dropped the $5,000 pay raise. They were really excited about it when they found out, that we were in the know on this. But should they believe the hype, you think?
Well, I was talking to some of the people in this report and asked essentially, do they feel like this is a pacifier, or if there really is some meaningful change that can come out of this. They really do think that lawmakers are listening here, and you really have to pay attention to where the priorities are, right? So, it's clear that teachers, administrators, lawmakers all generally want the same thing. They want to reform the system and they want to make sure that there are better scenarios for kids, but it's sort of that trickle-down effect too, to a certain degree. You keep the teachers happy and then the students are going to have better performance, the students are going to do well. So, you have to kind of keep in mind and pay attention to this performance-based incentives and really think about the definition of evaluation. How teachers are going to be evaluated is really a key element to this whole conversation.
All right, Wes, thanks for that.
Thanks, Phil.
I can think of little more important work than how Donald Trump is removed from office.
A Texas congressman looks ahead to his role in the 2020 campaign against President Trump, how he's aiming his efforts beyond the ballot box.
It's big for ag, it's big for Texas, it's big for the consumer.
The push to let Texas farmers legally grow hemp moves closer to reality. Why this latest effort could succeed where others have failed. Right now, it's against the law to grow hemp in Texas, but that's one step closer to changing. House lawmakers approved a bill to let farmers legally grow industrial hemp. The bill also clears up a gray area for selling many hemp-based products like CBD oil. Advocates call this a win for farmers and consumers.
The association is very focused on providing good agricultural practices and directing good testing, traceability of products so that consumers know where these products are coming from, that law enforcement understands the difference between these products and other illegal products, and we can really begin to commercialize these things.
Senator Charles Perry is carrying the hemp legislation in the Senate. The Lubbock Republican tells us he's optimistic about the bill moving forward.
It's big for ag, it's big for Texas, it's big for the consumer. So much of what's on the market today is unregulated, you don't know where it's coming from. I've heard horror stories that synthetic marijuana has came back through that venue. I've heard that some of this CBD oil, quote, hemp derivative oil has really nothing more than olive oil. So having Texas have it, Texas grown, Texas labeled, and Texas regulated is the only way to protect consumers as well as engage our agriculture community in an up-and-coming market.
Lawmakers have tried and failed before to pass hemp bills. Part of the problem was the debate over definitions of hemp and marijuana. Hemp is a cousin of the marijuana plant, but it contains very low levels of THC. That's the element in marijuana that gets people high. Right now, Texas law lists both hemp and marijuana as controlled substances. The House bill moves hemp off that list, but keeps marijuana on. A House bill to reduce the penalty for having small amounts of marijuana is scheduled for a vote next week. Representative Joe Moody is leading the effort. He made changes to the original bill, though, to improve its chances on the floor.
If I want to accomplish those goals, I need to listen, certainly need to listen to the concerns of other people that are now involved in this conversation that haven't been in the past.
Under Moody's bill, people caught possessing less than an ounce of pot would still face a misdemeanor, but they would not be arrested, and their record would be wiped clean after a short probation period. For some perspective on these bills, we turn to our panel. Alex Samuels covers politics for the Texas Tribune. Jerry Quijano is a producer for KUT News here in Austin. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah,
thanks for having us.
The effort to decriminalize small amounts of marijuana had a big change this week. Talk a little bit about how that happened.
Yeah, so it's fair to say that Moody's new bill is not a decriminalization measure per se. I'd say it's one more that lessens the criminal penalties for Texans found to possess small amounts of the drug. And I think a lot of the reason why he introduced this new bill is to give it maybe a better chance of passing in the Texas Senate, where we see some opposition from Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick in regards to marijuana bills.
Jerry, on the hemp issue, why is this happening now, do you think?
Well, I think the biggest thing was the federal initiative that happened in 2018. Did a number of things, but the biggest thing it did was to legalize hemp. And if Texas doesn't submit their own plan for regulating hemp, then they'll fall to the USDA. And so I think there's initiative now because they want to be able to have control over the hemp market in Texas.
And so Senator Perry talked to us a little bit about this kind of stuff is here whether we regulate it or not, so let's regulate it, for lack of a better word. Is that the feeling that a lot of lawmakers have, do you think?
I would say so, and I think it's a lot of feelings that Texans share. Like, I know a bunch of people want to know, what is CBD oil and is it legal and things of that nature. So I think that the hemp bill really would it would make a lot of people happy because there would be testing and there would be regulation. So it would make for a safer hemp market in Texas, and that would also mean a safer CBD oil market in Texas and other products like that.
And so what are the next major steps on this issue? Is there a hurdle that everybody is saying, as long, in the Senate, is there a specific person, or is there a specific kind of feeling that or worry that that is in the Senate?
I think what we've seen is, Senator Perry, he has a hemp bill in the Senate. Senator Rodriguez has a bill similar to Moody's in the Senate. Neither have received hearings. But what we're seeing now is Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, who's told us previously that he's essentially against any decriminalization bill and remains wary of medicinal cannabis proposals. I haven't seen him say anything publicly on hemp. So I think he might be a major hurdle.
And has the big argument against this been the law enforcement concern or the slippery slope concern from them? What's been the pushback on these bills?
Well, I don't think that it's been all just law enforcement. There have been people who have said that the hemp bills don't go far enough in regulating, or that they're not defining exactly what. Some people would like the proposed bills to be even more lenient in their lowering of the penalties and things like that. I think there's been opponents from law enforcement, but there's also been opponents who say the bills don't even go far enough as they are.
Mm-hmm. Jerry, Alex, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
A Texas congressman on a mission to get more information about President Trump.
He needs to be responsive to this Congress, and we need to use our full authority to get some accountability.
The push to get the president to release his tax returns and how far some Democrats are willing to go to make it happen. Texas is looking more like a potential battleground state in the 2020 election. On Tuesday, Democrat MJ Hagar announced she's running against U.S. Senator John Cornyn. Hagar is an Air Force veteran from Williamson County. She lost her 2018 congressional campaign against John Carter, but earned national attention in the process. And on Wednesday, 8 Democrats running for president came to Houston for the She the People Forum. It's billed as the largest presidential forum dedicated to women of color. Texas Congressman Lloyd Doggett is looking ahead to his own campaign in 2020, but he told me that he also plans to help the effort to push Donald Trump out of the White House. First, thanks for doing this. I appreciate your time.
Great to join you.
Former Vice President Joe Biden just got in. What are your thoughts on Vice President Joe Biden?
I thought he had a powerful statement. He is, as you know, our 20th candidate. I think we're stronger in having many candidates out there. I like the powerful participants we have from Texas in Julian Castro and Beto O'Rourke. Mm-hmm. I have many other friends that are running that are progressive champions like Elizabeth Warren and Amy Klobuchar. Mm-hmm. So I'd say let's have that competition, respectful of our other candidates. I think we'll be the stronger for it.
Have you made your decision yet on who you'll endorse and vote for?
I have not, and of course my name will be on the ballot in 2020 also. I doubt that I will take any position until well after the Democratic filing deadline, or perhaps after the Democratic primary. I do plan to be actively involved. I can think of little more important work than how Donald Trump is removed from office.
Mm-hmm. There's an ongoing debate within the Democratic Party about whether to try and win back the states that you lost in the 2016 election, or to try and put more effort on Texas, on Arizona, on Georgia. Where do you see that debate going?
Well, I think that certainly we do have to win back some states like Pennsylvania and Wisconsin. I think we can do that. But we came mighty close in Texas. Tremendous victory, except at the very top of the ticket. I want to see as much focus here on Texas, and the fact that the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee is opening an office here in Austin. Its regional office that stretches from here to Florida is an encouraging sign. This is a time for every Texan that cares about the future of our country to turn out to vote and participate.
What's your role in helping flip Texas? You have a couple $1 million in your campaign account still. You are very good at getting reelected by wide margins. Are you going to use any of that money to help out these now targeted districts?
I've always done that. I will do it again, but I certainly don't take anything for granted. I get a 2-year lease, so to speak, on this job. I'll be asking that my record be evaluated, and that my constituents, half of whom are in San Antonio, support me again and give me an opportunity with a new Democratic president to be able to get some things done on these issues I've worked so long about. But yes, I'll be working with other candidates, hoping to see that we add to the 2 victories we had last time, 2 great new members that are there from Houston and Dallas, that we add to them and that we have the votes to implement this agenda in 2021, I guess.
There was a deadline from Congress for President Trump to hand over his tax returns. He did not do that. So what happens now?
Well, we need to move forward with legal action. As you know, I made some 6 motions over the last 2 years, Republicans covering up my attempts to get the Trump tax returns. Long period before the Democratic chairman actually made the request at the beginning of April. Now we've had the Secretary of the Treasury tell us more than once no, and he's just delaying until May the 6th, but we need to act now.
His team will say that Congress can't get the tax returns of an individual private citizen. What are your thoughts on that?
The statute, almost 100 years old, could not be more clear. It says shall. It limits that to our committee and the Senate Finance Committee. Let me be clear that if we get the returns, that doesn't mean that they're automatically disclosed. In fact, we're subject to criminal penalties for disclosure.
Thank you again for joining us for State of Texas. I'm Phil Prazin. We'll be back next week to bring you an in-depth look at Texas politics.